Now a community's desperate fight to save the homes they love. Tonight, how 3,000 people are set to be relocated so the land can be sold off to wealthy developers. Dan Nolan's been following the story and joins me now. Dan?
Thanks, Tracy. It's not every day you find a letter in the mailbox with news that you're about to be kicked out. But imagine the confusion when the letter, signed by the Housing Minister, starts with the words, "I'm excited." Well, that's exactly what's happening to one of the most vulnerable communities in the country. And boy, does that minister squirm when you try to question him about it.
We're all losing our homes.
It's my home, it's my castle. I don't want to lose it.
To take me out of here, they have to call the police.
They're not just angry, they're terrified. They're going to lose their home.
It's one of the great political con jobs of modern times.
I get very emotional because my husband's very ill.
Targeting 3,000 of our most vulnerable Australians.
And they want to demolish all this public housing and hand it over to developers.
Turfing them out of their homes so the government can sell the land. With a promise they can move back somewhere in the next 20 years.
I hope you get a job one day where you're a grown-up. Just a grown-up, eh?
I'm 76, I'll be dead before it's finished.
But these residents aren't giving up without a fight.
Where are you going to house everybody? Well, we're going to do it. Where?
What the hell is going on?
There's more time than yet.
This is the Battle of Waterloo.
I'll fight all the way. I'll chain myself to the damn fences if I have to.
Now with 31 metro railway stations.
This is how the government is selling its
Now
Waterloo
preferred
renewal
station at
project.
Waterloo, bringing world-class metro rail to Waterloo.
Waterloo is obviously an area that is crying out for renewal.
But when the minister says renewal, what he really means is demolition. This is what's coming to the Waterloo public housing estate in Sydney. 2,000 homes in 6 massive towers spread across 17 hectares of prime inner city land. Knocked down so the land can be sold to developers in a deal potentially worth $1 billion. The government makes a promise that the developers will include 30% social housing in their new buildings, and most of the tenants can move back in.
We won't get back here. Not in my lifetime anyway.
Evelyn Morris is one of many residents who doesn't believe the government spin.
So you're all going to have to move out, but don't worry, it'll only be in the interim. They don't tell you how long the interim will be. It's a 10 to 20 year plan. I'll be dead in 20 years.
Ill health forced her into public housing 16 years ago. She keeps her modest 2-bedroom flat in better shape than many homeowners.
This is people's lives he's playing with, not just some derelict site that he's redeveloping. He is pulling people's homes and a whole community apart.
This is where they're going to demolish half a suburb of the most neediest people in Australia.
Ron Honig is the local MP who's desperately fighting the government plans.
All you're going to see is wrecking balls and rubble as they start demolishing people's homes in the name and for the benefit of developers. It's actually a crime.
He takes us on a tour of the neighbourhood where we meet more house-proud tenants.
Hello, Diane.
Hello.
How are you? How
Nice
you
to
going?
see you. Very good,
Nice to
thank
see
you.
you.
How are you, Diane?
Diane Mason is 71. She worked in hospitality all her life until moving into public housing a few years ago.
What does this place mean to you?
Well, it's my home, it's my castle, it's where I live, it's close to everything and I don't want to lose it.
Diane tends the veggie patch beside her building, but this area wasn't always quite so neat and tidy. When A Current Affair began reporting on the Waterloo community 4 years ago, tenants were surviving in third world conditions.
It actually looks like a war-torn suburb of the Gaza Strip.
Broken buildings, raw sewage and run-down laundry blocks that were being used as shooting galleries. Neither the housing department nor the government seemed to care, but thanks to Ron Honig's efforts, the whole place was transformed.
Everything's been fixed up. It looks $1 million in here.
Now there's lawn, now there's gardens, now there's clotheslines, there are fences, there's new roofs, there's new gutterings, and they want to bring a wrecking ball through this place, throw the people out and knock it all down.
All of this work cost millions of dollars. Taxpayer money that is now down the drain.
It's a waste. You know, why would they do that and then decide to pull everything down?
Well, they've spent all this money to fix it all up because with the aid of Current Affair, they've been shamed into doing it. And now they want to just knock it down because they have this philosophy that the private sector is a solution to every problem.
It makes me angry because it's an absolute blatant waste of taxpayers' money.
Evelyn's not the only one who's angry. Hundreds of tenants packed into a community forum to hear from the Minister for Family and Community Services, Brad Hazzard.
Everybody here in Waterloo will have the entitlement to come back into their housing, and it will be done progressively over 20 years.
His 20-year plan was translated into Mandarin and Russian, but drew just as much disbelief.
In the beginning,
the minister brought along 6 people who had successfully relocated under similar smaller projects, but delivered very few clear answers on Waterloo.
We have just wasted 50 minutes. People came here to find out what the hell is going on.
Many more didn't get a question in at all.
Sir, listen to me. This meeting has been called to allow the community to have their say, not for a few people to simply scream and overtalk everybody else.
When it was over, the minister had to face some tearful residents up close.
How are you going to separate us?
I promise you that's not going to happen. You're going to stay in the local area, I promise you, okay? No one will be moved out. Because there'll be new housing and more housing.
Hayley gets a handshake promise that she and her 3-year-old son won't be forced out of the area.
That promise you've just been given by the minister, do you believe him?
No, just like every other paper, we didn't get a chance to say yes or no. This promise means nothing.
Hello, Minister. Dan Noel from Current Affair.
How are you?
Outside, we were granted 5 minutes to ask the minister some questions ourselves.
Were you hearing the message from the Waterloo tenants who seem terrified by this, confused by this? Nobody seems to know what's happening.
You might like to put it that way, Dan, but that's not what was happening.
You didn't hear that?
What I heard was that people were actually concerned, as the other tenants have been wherever there's renewal and where any of us are when we renew. But
there's that word renew again, political spin that actually means demolish.
Would you accept that if this does take 20 years, a lot of these tenants are going to be dead before the new places are ready for them to move back into?
Each of the tenants here are going to be given every opportunity to be consulted and to have opportunities to an input to a really fantastic
and what if they're dead?
New Waterloo area.
What if they're dead?
And as they progress...
What do you do if they're dead?
Seriously, you're asking some really silly questions.
Well, no, I'm not.
You're asking,
people laughed at you today.
If this is the level of a current affair, God help you.
People laughed at you today, Minister.
Cutting through Minister Hazzard's spin is clearly controversial. We hadn't even gotten to his letter yet, sent out to all tenants, starting with, "I'm excited to write to you about a new metro station." The real news was buried in paragraph 4. Some tenants may need to relocate.
What you need
You're demolishing people's homes. Are you excited about that? What makes you excited about that?
Current affair should actually be a little more mature.
So far, the community consultation has involved housing department staff wearing bright T-shirts bearing love hearts. But many tenants aren't feeling the love.
Do you think they really want to listen to
They
you?
answered the same answer to every question that was asked. No one's listening. This is just to cross their T's and dot their I's.
I'm asking you
You're actually
questions,
supposed to be a
Minister.
journalist.
I'm asking you
Journalists
questions.
are supposed to report the news, not stir people.
Well, we want facts. When do people move out?
You're not interested in facts, you're
When do
interested
people
in
move out?
stirring.
Minister, you couldn't give these people any facts today, and you can't give us any now.
The reality is that facts on the ground here are very thin. The tenants have been told they'll start moving out next year, even though a development application is still years away from being approved. 55% of tenants in these towers are over 60.
There isn't any crime in becoming old or being a low-income earner.
Joe and Lorraine Burns also have a range of serious health problems to factor in.
I get very emotional because my husband's very ill. I mean, we need to be near the hospital. We've got all his specialists and all our doctors.
They realise public housing is a privilege, not a right, but they don't trust deals between politicians and developers.
They're not going to live back here. This is just for developers.
The problem is, Minister, they don't trust you. You're asking them to
I think
trust
from what I
you
just
that
heard,
they're going
there's
to move
people that
back
don't
in.
trust you. And I think
Oh,
you need a
really?
lot of work to do. Yes,
So
actually
we're the
right
problem
there.
here?
Well, I think you
We're
need to
demolishing
actually,
these
I think,
towers, are we?
Well, you're certainly not helping actually make sure that there's renovation and renewal of the area.
When you don't swallow the government spin, things start getting personal.
You know, I hope, mate, I hope you get a job one day where you're a grown-up.
Just a grown-up,
One day where you're worthy of it, worthy of the money that you make.
That's one of your constituents, Minister. You want to address her or not, because she's not saying what you want to hear?
See you later.
That's Evelyn Morris, one of many worried residents finally able to tell the minister what she really thinks.
Your wonderful plan round here, I'm 76, I'll be dead before it's finished. You want me to move? Move where? You say temporarily. Temporarily for what? 2 years? 3 years? 5?
I hope that a current affair doesn't keep you employed for too long because you're not doing the reputation.
No,
Minister,
it takes a special skill.
Minister, I hope you develop a thicker skin for tough questions at some point in your career.
Intelligent questions, because you're not giving me any.
No, they're tough questions is what they are, sir. There is a difference.
But if this minister thinks he can just steamroll his way through a suburb without a fight, he's sorely mistaken. 74-year-old grandfather John Noriega.
Nobody's happy about it now. I'm not happy either. To take me out of here, they have to call the police.
They're not going to get you out of here without a fight?
Definitely not. I'll fight all the way. I'll chain myself to the damn fences if I have to.
A spokesperson for the minister sent us a statement saying that every dollar from the land sale will be used to build more social housing. We'll be watching with interest.